Hello everyone. What do you do when the worst happens? When one of your teammates' internet connections cuts out, suddenly leaving you in a 3 versus 4 situation fighting uphill for that victory. Is it still possible to win? Based on this game, the answer is yes, and I'm going to show you how you can put yourself in the best possible position so that even if it's the worst case scenario and you lose a teammate completely, you can still potentially fight for that win together. So let's jump right into things here. I'm in the teal playing as the English, and I do want to do a quick disclaimer. If you are solo queuing into teams, meaning you're queuing up alone into 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4, and you are choosing an infantry-based civ, specifically on the larger maps, you are putting your life in your teammates' hands, because these maps are too large for you to be marching your army all the way across to the other side to help a struggling teammate. You need them to be able to handle themselves, and that is really just luck of the draw sometimes. It's a bit of a gamble, and in this case, I was feeling risky, and I decided to play some English and see what I was able to do. We'll go over my teammates here. I have a player, Order of the Dragon, is on my side in the purple here. Cannot pronounce that name, unfortunately. And then we have a Mongol General Fafa on our side, and then on the far end, it's Dennis Hero 95 playing as the French. When I loaded into this game, just taking a look at the team composition of the enemy over here, enemy has a French player in the pink, has an English player in the blue, has a Jeanne d'Arc player in the red, and then also has an Abbasid player in the green. Very, very aggressive potential early start coming from the enemy with 2 French and then Jeanne d'Arc and then also English. And so I was thinking to myself, if I spawned on the edge, because you kind of spawn in a bit of a U-shape. If I spawned on the edge, I would likely have to go Council Hall and kind of be ready to defend myself against a pretty significant pressure of either French and English together, or maybe 2 Knight Civs coming to attack me. Because I spawned a little bit further in, I kind of thought to myself, okay, I have a little bit more space for myself. I'm going to be a bit greedier since I'm more protected because my allies are the ones that are further out. I'm going to move in and do a 2TC Abbey of the Kings kind of situation with the English, something I'm very familiar with. And then I would be rallying my troops from that point over to my ally to try and defend their position, which is what I ended up doing. I was originally considering putting my TC up here at the front, and that's why I kind of built my mining camp and house off to the sides here to kind of have my TC between the gold mine and the tree line. However, after a little bit of scouting, I see that my secondary gold is actually really nice and tucked away down in this position, and this ends up being where I go and put my town center a little bit later on into the game. Once again, putting my Abbey of Kings nice and forward, away from my town center, bringing my other villagers down here to gather the stone to the backside, rallying onto the trees, all pretty standard stuff. At this point, I now know that the French player is very close to us on this side, and that it's an English player slightly behind, so there's the potential for a lot of pressure coming down this left side of the map. And then, of course, on this side, because I'm an infantry-based civ, I'm not going to have the speed of the cavalry to be dealing as much with what's going on over here. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers that orange and yellow are going to be able to handle themselves against the Abbasid and also the Jeanne d'Arc player on this side. We'll speed things up ever so slightly, just as we continue in this vein. I'm also considering what I think my teammates are going to be doing. And this is another reason why I was thinking that I wanted to go kind of more early-based pressure before I found myself kind of further back on the map. Because I'm looking at our team composition and I'm seeing Order of the Dragon, who I know is going to likely want to be rushing Castle Age and grabbing some of those relics. I'm also seeing over here the orange Mongol player. I'm wondering if maybe this could potentially be kind of a Mongol fast Imperial situation. And so I'm aware of the fact that there might not be a lot of pressure coming up from my allies earlier on. I was actually quite relieved to see that the Mongol player was being very aggressive on the map. Very nice. Wasn't just going to sit back and do nothing and kind of wait for that Imperial power spike, which is, I think, the better play, and I was certainly grateful to see that. Again, we'll speed up just to get these age ups in. You do end up aging up relatively slowly as you're only building with 2 villagers, but it does mean that as soon as you age up, you are able to go and build that town center pretty much immediately, which is quite nice. And I'm going for my safe and close wood line on this side, leaving this gold out here at the front. So even if there are some knights that want to come and harass and cause problems, I'm not going to be having to deal with any sort of danger in this front area. I have lots of safety for these 5 villagers by this town center over here. I immediately rally my king not over to the enemy base to deal damage to these villagers, though I could have. My first thought was trying to protect my Order of the Dragon ally over here with my knight and kind of push things off. So just the presence of having this unit here means that these villagers don't have to move. This villager doesn't have to run back to the town center. It's all good. I actually ended up giving my ally here some sheep earlier on in the game. He still manages to run out, which is pretty crazy. But now it's my scout and my king here are just trying to keep track of these knights right here. These are the most dangerous thing earlier on in this game, as I'm clearly booming up in more of an economic way, and my allies also likely looking to kind of go more aggressive with some of his teching up as well. Unfortunately, really slow reaction from Dennis Hero 95. I was pinging like crazy saying, look out, look out, look out. But unfortunately, he loses pretty much everybody on the gold mine here. Yeah, not good. Not good at all. That's a lot of damage from just a couple of knights. But, what did I say? I can't help over there. It's going to be up to Orange to kind of deal with protecting our yellow friend. I then see, thanks to my scout here, that these knights are starting to move around. And I think, oh, they're probably going to loop around and see if they can find any damage on me. Luckily, I've already moved gold mine, so this is not as much of a danger to me. But I do decide to bring back my units a little bit to come back in this direction. And you can see my ally did pretty much exactly what I was expecting, which is going up with the Regnitz Cathedral now. And looking to secure a bunch of those relics across the map. What did I say? I called it. The knights all run in and kind of start to burn down this house because it's something they can grab. Now this player here was very afraid of this single king. With 4 knights, he can quite easily turn around and absolutely surround my king here, doing massive damage, if not killing it outright. But I decided, okay, I'm just going to let this house be. I'll build an additional house to keep myself from getting housed up here. I'm probably going to lose this, but it is what it is. Ran up just a little bit faster to try and tag that really low Royal Knight. Unfortunately, the charge just ran out before I could get there. And very fortunately, my ally in the Mongol skin here doing double duty and protecting myself as well. Do end up losing this house, but we are able to push back these knights who have found very minimal, if any, damage so far, which is good news. Have a couple of knights swooping around the backside here. And they do kill 1 villager, so well played. And in fact, it's 2 villagers that go down. So this is the early pressure that I was expecting, that I was kind of worried about. And I lose my scout, but my king is still okay. And thanks to the help of my allies and me kind of supporting my purple ally over here, we are able to now get quite close to going up to Castle Age, which is excellent. And you can see right here, time to age up. I grabbed all the food villagers from here and decided to build the white tower right beside my base, covering the majority of these farms and potentially allowing me to build some farms around in this direction. So took no damage whatsoever other than a house burning down to the ground, and I'm up to Castle Age and I'm ready to do my best to push forward. On the opposite side, this English player has had a very similar idea, also kind of gathering from a secondary gold, and so we're kind of doing the same style, it would seem, at the moment. What else is going on? So we got a good force of Yellow Knights coming out now from Dennis Hero 95. I'm going to speed things up a little bit because this is a bit of a longer game. And you can see that I now have a barracks. I'm trying to get more wood into my my economy here so I can build more military production buildings. Grab a couple of spears. And then I see that my ally here is actually suffering a lot of damage and has a lot of idle time at the moment, so I'm quickly running my spears up in this direction to try my best to save him from any further damage. So lost a little bit there, but now I'm getting much more online. He's doing pro scouts as well, so getting lots of food in. And now it's kind of maybe time to start pushing out. The Mongol player doing some excellent raiding with the Magadai. You love to see it. And now it's time to push out. My goal is to kind of help my ally collect as many of these relics as possible. Has managed to get down here and grab this one. And now the fights start to begin. We'll keep it on 2x speed for now. But it's generally a pretty even game so far. I see a little bit of fighting going on up here. I know that my spears are not going to be doing very much damage against these longbows and man-at-arms, but I do bring my king forward to try and attack these longbows, and I bring my crossbows forward because that's going to be a good counter to what is happening over here. And these walls are starting to come up. It is Lipany, so there's a decent amount of defense that's happening on our opponent's sides. And great news is that my Order of the Dragon teammate is coming online with a really nice Gilded Knight ready to support up here at the front. But this is my plan, kind of push in, do a combination of spear and crossbow to deal with these knights, crossbows to deal with the man-at-arms and longbows that are coming up for the English side here. And very soon, I believe I pull some villagers to come up here to start building some towers to get ready. There are a couple of knights being pesky at the backside here, which is why I've brought back a couple of my forces on this side. Fighting up here with a very limited force for my allies' side, but doing our best, using these crossbows to pick off the enemy crossbows. And unfortunately do lose this fight a little bit, and so it's time to pull back. These spears are not going to be able to deal with this force very effectively at all. And you can see that now I get caught, a little bit of damage to my economy, and I turn these right back around and try my best to clean up some of the knights on this front. So while I did take a little bit of damage, cleaning up that many knights is not necessarily a bad position to be in. And you can see I've brought villagers forward to build a tower here, and I have another tower queued here. And my plan is to kind of start to slowly crawl these towers forward to keep that attack speed bonus for my units as we move up. So far, relatively even game state. Nothing too intense has happened on either side, but now it's time to do more of a fight. Bringing up these spears, forcing these longbows back, I immediately turn and burn down this outpost, wasting that 100 wood. Killing these knights immediately. These spears, really just tanking the front line. They are taking quite a bit of damage, but they're kind of just frontlining for the crossbows, which are doing a lot against this man-at-arm flood that is starting to come in from the blue English player. And just like that, we are back forward at the front. We've managed to push them back. My allies still building a little bit of force, which is good. And this kind of is the general, obviously Order of the Dragon units count as double, so imagine there's twice as many crossbows here. But at the same time, I do feel like I had the majority of the force since I was Two-Town Center. My ally had bought me that space to go a more economic route, and so it's now kind of on me, thanks to the space that I've gotten, to kind of build a really significant force and do as much of the damage as I can. So, unfortunately, these spears are really not doing very well, but there's not a ton of knights, so it's okay that they're going down a little bit. Moving back again into that tower range so I can get that additional attack speed bonus when I can. And just rallying forward. I now have a trebuchet coming out because I kind of want to set up on this front over here and just start trebbing down on this French player's base. That's my kind of goal or dream at this point. A bunch of villagers here building up some walls or repairing the ones that were there before, but I'm very interested in taking as many of these down as I can. And now, although there's an opening here, I want this to be much more open for us so we have more of a retreat option if necessary and we are able to build up. I run in, again trying to do a bunch of damage. My allies here trying to take down these knights, focus fire them as much as I can. These Gilded Horsemen are absolutely doing massive work on these longbows, and things are looking all right on this side. We're doing great. Looking forward to now setting up with this trebuchet, which I will move eventually to the front lines and starting to cause problems. Then not Dennis, but the English player, R. Keller here, ends up putting up the Berkshire Palace, so now I know, all right, we've pushed up about as far as we can. Now we need siege. Now we need to invest more into taking down some of these more defensive structures. We're really not going to do very much of anything with the range of this Berkshire Palace covering off this entire area. Really good placement by the enemy forces here. But back on my front, I'm building more production buildings, again focusing on these infantry-based composition, crossbows, and then some men-at-arms and spears coming in now, and trying to get up here to the front. and do as best as I can. I'm now using these villagers that I brought up here to build these towers more effectively, to chop down some wood, and by doing so, it kind of allows me a bit of an extra force up here to build structures. And so you'll see pretty soon I end up building 2 siege workshops right here, so that I don't have to be building the siege in my base from the White Tower of these 2 buildings. I can instead build it from up here, and it can be much more effectively reinforcing my army. It's just a better position. I now have a chance to go castle. I don't want to get left behind, so I decided to build the Wingard Palace back in my base. I will say I do not use this very effectively throughout the course of the game. I'm much more used to using the Berkshire, and so I very frequently just forget to use this landmark. And that's what happened, because things start to get pretty chaotic from here on out. My first thought is to take down this keep, the French keep that kind of popped up along the wood line here. More trebuchets arriving. Pretty decent force up at the front here for myself, looking at 76 army. And with that attack speed buff that I'm dealing with, and also now forcing him to be repairing with a significant number of villagers, this is definitely a good position that we want to be in. I pull back ever so slightly and then push forward a little bit with my force here to try and use my crossbows to take down these armored units. Try to get my spears and man-at-arms up here to deal with these knights as well. And my opponent does a great job running right through and jumping right onto these longbows. And this fight goes extremely well. You can see that that was a decent mass of knights, and they are almost all gone. And I'm still sitting with a pretty significant military force. I actually use my trebuchets to pop this mangonel, so that's not even going to be useful for the enemy in any way, shape, or form. Love to see that. Still focusing down onto this keep here a little bit. Also kind of trying to take down this tower to prevent my enemy from getting the attack speed buff. But this massive longbows is still decently frustrating to deal with. I'm actually now using my trebs to try and fire down on them. It's not particularly going so well. I do not have the Shadow projectiles upgrade, so it's not really working. But I do have a lot of man-at-arms, and these man-at-arms are not going to be taking any damage at all from these longbows. Yeah, really mismicroing these trebuchets, which are fighting the units. Not ideal at all, so don't be like me. I never said I was good at this game, but I do like it. So now, deciding to build a mangonel just to maybe deal with some of these archers as well. This keep is still standing, this tower is still standing. Those trebuchets will change their targeting soon. But I do not have a mass of units up here. It is a little bit dwindling, which is why I now have even more production on this side, building towards kind of completing a more effective army at the front. Sitting here with 5 trebuchets, a great deal of siege. Start moving up a little bit forward. Since this tower was destroyed, I no longer have vision of this keep, so I actually just use the stand ground or attack ground command, G, to kind of fire down on this. I actually take out this stable first, and then focus more on this keep building. Just a couple of gilded horsemen from my ally and a couple of crossbows, but that's all I need for now. Doing his best to complete farm transition here with a decent number of relics in the bank. And you can see I've finally taken down this tower, so that has been taken care of, and so they're not getting the additional attack speed now, which is definitely much more in line with where we want to be. Also have a nice keep from my ally up here on the hill. And again, we don't want to push too far in because this Berkshire Palace will just rain hellfire down upon us. I do have this single mangonel that's ready to cause damage whenever it can. Big fight here. You can see I'm aiming my mangonel. Do not attack move these. It is very important you specifically aim at the center of the group. I see a lot of people kind of letting their mangonels auto-fire. They were going to move over here on these springalds. I say, no, aim right here. Hit as many of these longbows as you possibly can, please. And in doing so, I really thinned out this group of longbows here. They're trying their best to kind of continue to take this down, but these horsemen are now starting to pile in. And I'm able to use these crossbows to pop these springalds as well, thanks as well to my ally. And this is a great move by my more agile Mongol ally. General Fatha comes in with an absolutely massive kind of swing, like a huge Riders of Rohan charge through into our side of the field. Definitely a lot of pressure coming down onto our yellow French ally back here, but thanks to this big run through, you know, we've broken through the walls, so now these Mongols can run straight through the economy of this English player and cause a lot of panic for him. And that's exactly what we needed, just to be able to push ever so slightly further forward. This keep is burning down. Ally doing a great job killing these villagers that are repairing the keep. I'm focusing down this Berkshire so that it's not going to be raining down on us at the moment. And you can see that the Magi are now in full force in the base here with incendiary arrows, killing as many villagers as possible. And things are looking good. Definitely a big fight here. Yellow doing absolute best. Oh. My game crashed. So it is funny that my game crashed just there, because this is where it all fell apart. So we're doing quite well. We put ourselves in a great position to succeed. By pushing forward, we've had a nice swing from my ally to come in and give us the assistance we needed to kind of break that kind of chokehold that we had. We were just kind of stuck battling back and forth. But unfortunately, it is here, just as there's kind of a bit of a fight back in this direction. I feel like even just by observing that part happening in the bottom corner of the map, maybe there's something wrong with that. I don't know, but anybody who was looking there, I feel like they had the same experience, which was all of a sudden, round now, wait for it, wait for it. 3, 2, 1. Okay, maybe not quite yet. I swear it's coming. It was right around here. When we were pushing in, we'd done a great job doing massive damage. Pushing in, doing a bunch of... here it is. Dennis Hero 95 eliminated. So he got disconnected from the game at this moment. So, not ideal. All of a sudden, an entire force of ours is just completely gone. And it's now a 3v4 at a time when I was expecting the enemy might be starting to surrender, because we really were doing a lot of damage pushing into the base here. So the question becomes, we're obviously in a great position, we've set ourselves up to succeed. Can we finish off this game based on the damage that we've done? Because it's not necessarily as easy as you might expect it to be. I'm pushing in here, trying to do as much as I can to whittle down the army of the blue player, while I am keeping kind of a group of man-at-arms over on this side, just trying to take out any reinforcements that are coming from this area here. And this is where the multitasking and kind of wanting to absolutely obliterate your opponent's kind of scorched earth policy really comes into play. I'm pulling my villagers forward to continue building outposts to give myself vision. I now have incendiary arrows. I also think I have military tactics coming in as well, if I don't already. No, it's coming in soon. Elite army tactics, I mean. Continuing to use these to deal with any reinforcements, and then I spit off another group of men-at-arms, and I right-click all of these villagers that I can see in my peripheral vision. I then jump back, and I'm continuing to try to just do as much damage as I can on the front lines. And I realize a really great way to do that is actually just to sit my crossbowmen right here and have them take out all of the reinforcements that are coming from these military buildings. This is the majority of the military production for the blue opponent here. And by keeping my crossbows sitting in this area, I'm able to pick off every single one of these units that he's building out of these production buildings. They're all going to be going down. I'm using my trebuchets to keep focusing down anything that's going to be doing damage to us in the longer term. And these man-at-arms are just continuing to do damage, picking up any reinforcements on this side, and then absolutely massacring these villagers on the farms over here. It's still a 3v4, but we've done a great deal of damage to these opponents here, which is very important. Soon, though, it's going to be quite apparent that we're missing a player, because different people start to come in and cause problems. Green here, who's in a very strong position as a player, suddenly has the freedom to not have to deal with this anymore. It kind of swings over to our side. Again, coming in, trying to pick off as many villagers as we can. This, standing under this keep, is not the play. I'm in a position where I have done a bit of a basic mistake where I have a bunch of trebuchets queued, but I have too many military units, so I cannot, at this point in time, reinforce with any siege. I think I peek out this, keep going up a little bit in this corner, and quite to start to move over in that direction. I'm moving these men-at-arms just to continue trying to see if there's anybody else around that I can possibly go after. I don't see these villagers yet, but this is what I'm starting to do. I'm building towers all over the map, all over their side of the base, so that they can't hide. If I'm able to cover their space and we can start to shrink their map space as much as we can, that's kind of what we're focused on doing. So now there's 2 keeps preventing us from kind of coming in and finishing anything that's off in this area. But my plan is to keep going through and picking off any reinforcements and any army I can possibly find. These man-at-arms are coming in here, allowing me to eventually realize that the guild hall is over in this direction. And you start to have to prioritize what's the most important things to kill. Obviously you want to take down the keeps that have emplacements, that have the ability to do massive damage to your forces, but what landmarks are the most important? It's not really important for me to take down the school of cavalry. It's going to be like any other stable. But this building right here, that's giving him tons of passive resources, that's something that I definitely feel like would be very useful to not have in my enemy's hands anymore. Big pressure from both purple and orange, trying to take down red, so we're just trying to limit the effectiveness of a lot of these different players. A lot of raiding happening over here as green has come over with these camel archers to try and cause some damage. However, this is right where my enemy is kind of reinforcing, or my army is reinforcing from, so I'm just going to continue rallying forward and using these guys to potentially protect these areas. I'm using my villagers to kind of completely clear out different gold mines. I'm now over here on this massive one. And the game is not over yet. Even though they're in dire straits, this is a decent mass of upgraded longbows that are able to melt through these elite gilded horsemen pretty effectively. I decide to pull back and kind of come back in this direction because I've seen that there are all these villagers over here thanks to the vision I've gotten from my ally. And so this is now an area where I know I can do a lot of damage. I decide to finish off these stables while I can. And then I stop right here with all of these crossbows, and I just start doing as much as I can to continue to eliminate the economy of the enemies. I didn't even realize this outpost is killing my ally, who's currently chopping some wood over here. And then he is doing a great job finding these additional villagers down in this area and raiding with these horsemen. So we started to fracture our armies. We no longer need that big blob of forces as we had before. It's now more important for us to find these kind of little pocket areas. You can see my ally has the same idea. It's building towers, so we have vision kind of across the map, across their area as much as we can of what's happening on their side of the map and seeing if there's any villagers hiding in these dark spots. I mean, he's got a really great mass of longbows, but I hate to break it to you, these are completely and fully upgraded man-at-arms, so it's not going to be enough to take them down. I have a big rallying force of reinforcements coming in, and he's also not being buffed up by the attack speed aura anymore. He does not have a tower in this area. Does a good raid here, kill some of my villagers off on this side. But, you know, my allies are doing a great job protecting me, and I don't need this many villagers anyways. I was sitting at 111, losing some economy. As you can see, I'm banking tons of resources because I've been pop-maxed as much as I possibly can. I've also gotten all of the kind of relevant upgrades. I'm going to start getting gunpowder and moving into hand cannoneers soon just because I have so much of that additional economy. And again, my priority is anything that's doing damage to me followed by economy. So dealing with these hand cannoneers that are popping out and then running through and defeating as many villagers as I can. And now I have one trebuchet up here, taking down this council hall. We'll speed back up again a little bit because this really is just cleanup at this point. We've done a great job pushing our enemy back further and further into their own corner. And as a result of doing so, we now have the ability to sweep in and clean up as best as we can, even though we are a full player down. So as I said, this is where I decide, okay, it's time to take down this guild hall. He has been gathering tons of free gold and food from this, and don't want him to be doing that any longer. Bring the Vanguards over here to burn it down, bring the Trebuchet over here to treb it down, and use this Trebuchet in the meantime to take down this keep, and then this keep next. So I can slowly begin to push in and destroy the economy of my opponent. Really good push in from purple here, who's doing a great deal of damage to green. And now another landmark has gone down, and I'm just cleaning up some of the additional production buildings on this side. And now you can take a bit of a deep breath. It's not as imperative that you go through and panic about the fact that you're a player down. We've done massive, massive economic damage to 3 of the 4 players in this game who are against us, and so we're going to be able to take them out, I think, with almost complete certainty now. It was looking a little bit dicey, but we managed to put ourselves in a great position. We were winning the game, so even if something drastic happened, like losing a player completely, we still were in a position where we could carry and carry the torch forward even though they were gone. You can see the reactions coming from the blue English player are just getting a bit slower and slower as the writing is kind of on the wall. I've gone through and killed all of these villagers over here on the stone mine, and the surrenders come in. And the game is finally over. It's actually the player who had the most kind of forces still against us that was still going. I think pink stays in the game a little bit longer with 2 landmarks left. The Red Palace here and the School of Cavalry here. I move, I think, just a single trebuchet over, or maybe this ram even, to go and start to ram this down so we can take care of that. And it's very shortly after, with 3 players bearing down tons of cannons, hui hui pow pows coming in, and this landmark is not long for this world. So it goes to show you that even if a player disconnects, if you've done the work, if you put in a good amount of effort, and it's not too early in the game when they're gone, then you can in fact kind of come through and take the victory, even with a player no longer on your side. So 3v4 victory doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you have to celebrate it, and it feels good for sure. A really quick look at the graph. You can see I was the leader in villager count for the majority of the game. Ended up losing quite a few villagers towards the end thanks to some raids, as I was focusing much more on the front, but I had so much economy banked up thanks to this anyways. You can see resources gathered. I was at the tippity top with a lot of resources in the bank ready to be spent whenever I needed to. And then if we go over to statistics, I was quite proud of the fact that I did end up doing the most number of kills. And that's just, again, me focusing on trying to pick off wherever units were possible, killing all those reinforcements coming from the English players' production buildings before I destroyed them. And in doing so, costing him a lot of his time and resources. So if you do lose a player, don't lose hope. It's still possible, especially if you're already in a position where you have a lot of forward momentum, you've done a lot of significant damage, you can in fact win the game, and maybe it ended up being much more like a 3v3 thanks to the damage we'd already done. So this has been a much more infantry-focused kind of style of 4v4 team game content. Hopefully you enjoyed. Gonna have some more stuff coming up. The DLC is only a week away at this point, very excited, and we'll have more AoE 4 content coming your way very soon. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.